Hi and welcome. Today I want to show you how I took this pile of wood and turn it into nice planters for our garden where we want to grow our own food. So we have a little area in the back of our garden which used to have a roof, and now we want to utilize it better than just storing some stuff. So we came up with the idea of having raised planters. First off, because it would be easier to catch sun for the vegetables, and secondly because it's just nicer standing up gardening instead of sitting down on your knees in the dirt. So I took measurements of the available space, discussed layout options with my wife, did some doodling on paper and then moved over to SketchUp. Go into too many details on how I use SketchUp, but if you'd like, I can make a special video about it, so let me know in the comments. So I took the available space, divided it into 3 equal parts and with a bit of slack on each side. Then I went online and figured out where I was going to order my wood. I did this because not every store has the same dimensions of wood. By this time COVID was already spreading quite a bit and DIY shopping was hard, and I needed a lot of wood, so I figured I might as well just have it delivered anyway. I decided to buy my wood at douglashout.nl. I'm not sponsored or anything, but you know, I shopped around and they had good prices, delivery costs were reasonable and they had great service. I used the dimensions of the wood they carry and I used those measurements to create a design, so I would have very little waste. I kept the build very simple by only using 5 different parts, 3 for the frame and 2 for the sizes of the sides. You can see the different colors and those represent the 5 different elements. Using components in SketchUp makes it very easy to get a complete list of parts, which in turn really helps in making sure that you don't miss any parts later. So now I had a complete list of parts and I moved over to cutlistoptimizer.com. This is a really great web app that helps you create good cut lists and make sure that you minimize waste. So this is Cutlist Optimizer. Here you see all the parts that I need for my build. Here I've specified the blanks which I will be using to cut these parts from. And then Cutlist Optimizer does all the calculations and tells me that I need 10 of these boards, one of those, 10 of these. So you see the planks and these are the legs. I wrote this in Dutch, sorry. What you can also see is how much waste you have, and here I only have 10% waste, which I think is quite nice. You also see that I have 94 cuts to make, which is a lot. Yeah, that's really nice, and you can see all your boards and all your cuts here. But if you go up here, you can actually export a PDF. And if you do that, you get a complete cut list with all the individual boards and the cuts you have to make. And you can even see all the parts that you specified. So these are short planks, a long plank here. Yeah, it's a really nice tool. I think it saves you a lot of time. It takes into account your curve of your blade. So yeah, you'll never run short. Yeah, there's a really good tutorial online, so which you can find on YouTube. If you can't find it, leave a comment and I will find that link for you. With the wood delivered, it was now time to start cutting pieces for the frame. I created a little cross-cut jig for my jigsaw to increase the accuracy and speed up the process. As I only needed 3 different size parts for the frames, I created 3 master templates that I labeled and used to quickly mark all the pieces that I needed to cut. And I needed a lot. It is a good idea to always use the same reference points, because if you use your cutoffs, any errors you have will be repeated and increase over time. And using the template is quicker than getting your tape measure out every time. I made sure to keep track of all pieces needed on my planned cut list. This would have been a perfect job for a miter saw, but I don't have one yet. Since I have a small workshop, I want a miter saw that doesn't take up a lot of space when not in use, because most miter saws have a huge footprint due to the sliding wheels. I've been looking at the Festool Capex KS60 for a long time, but I couldn't justify the cost of such a machine. But with that being said, I also don't want to buy a cheap throwaway machine with bad dust collection, as I work inside most of the time. I also figured this is a planter. I want it to look aesthetically pleasing, but I don't need it to be perfect. And of course, in the end, it's not about how much you cut, it's about what you do with what you have. The jigsaw did the job just fine. But enough talking, let's get to a little sawing montage. After cutting the pieces of the frame down to manageable sizes, I took the pieces inside, where I set up my UJK pocket hole jig and got ready for drilling a lot of pocket holes after connecting the dust collection. Drilling a lot of pocket holes is not terribly exciting, so I guess I'll just speed it up for you. Although I've had the UJK pocket hole jig for quite a while now, this is the first time I really used it for a big project. It worked fine with a few niggles, but if you'd like to know more, leave me a comment and maybe I can do a little review. For assembling these kind of things, I really like my worktop with the dog holes in it. This one is from UJK. It's basically a Festool MFT style table where you use bench dogs to align everything perfectly. You get nice 90 degrees angles all the time. So that's half of the frame done. I move it over, and then I start attaching the second half to create the full frame. And then it's just rinse and repeat 4 times, and then I have all sides of the frames I need. So with the sides of the frames done, it's time to stand them up and attach them together to create the full frame. So with the side frames done, it's now time to move on to the middle frame. So for the middle frame I got some help from my youngest daughter, which isn't necessarily quicker, but it is good fun. I'm of course secretly hoping that she really likes woodworking and wants to help out more often, and maybe at one point also starts making her own projects. So now the 2 side frames and the middle frames are done, and it's time to move outside and start attaching some boards. So as you can see, I start by using full boards, which I have sticking over just a little bit on one side and completely on the other side. The idea is that I try to minimize my waste. So by having it stick over a little bit on one side, I can then come in with my jigsaw and flush trim that, and I do the same on the other side, and by doing it like that I am wasting as little length as I can, because I really need everything. You also see me spending time on locating the screw holes. It's just garden furniture, but overall it looks so much nicer if the screw holes are in the right position. So here you can see me trim off the excess from the sides. And doing it this way, you just get one straight cut instead of, minor differences between the different boards. And it just looks nicer. One side done, flip it over and move on to the next side. I flipped the boards here so I would have a tighter seam, but the process is the same. Now with the long sides mounted to the side, it was easy to get the correct measurements and create all the short sides. So with the sides attached, it starts looking like a real planter. This is the end of part 1, but please join me in part 2. I will be adding the mesh on the bottom, the plastic on the sides, the face frame, sanding and painting, of course the final result. We put earth in and we plant our first seeds. If you like this video, please leave a like or a comment. Thank you very much. See you next time.